let's do our power rankings before we finish off the show. I thought it was a good time to go through them because, well, it's kind of tough. I kind of thought I'd go through mine, got them up on screen right here. Maybe Omar can chuck something up on screen if you would like to. I think you made some interesting point before we went live with the show, Austin, the fact that maybe tiers make more sense than just, clear rankings. We probably start at the bottom. I mean, I don't know who to choose over Paris and Seattle. I'm probably just going to say Seattle, given the fact that they haven't won a series this stage. Then probably Paris. Then it's kind of interesting because you get to this point where it's like you've got LAG, you've got Minnesota, and London looking probably better than both of those teams right now. I had Minnesota in 10th, but Paris and Seattle to me are like D tier. Then you get like Minnesota, LAG, London maybe that are like C tier, and I had Minnesota in 10th just because LAG honestly have been looking better than I think as of late. But maybe I'll throw it to you, Austin, to give some thoughts on kind of the bottom half of your power rankings right now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do tiers. Like I think I'll start with the bottom. Like my C tier is probably like LEG, Seattle, and Paris. I feel like pretty much a lot of people have that. I think a lot of people might have had like London in there before, but I feel like London's shown a lot of growth in the respawns and a lot of like potential to compete with the teams above them. So I kind of bumped them up into my B tier. Did you go over your next level?
I kind of got to there. If you'll take out the lead for this next part, and then I'll go.
Okay. So my B tier is pretty large because right now it just seems like any one of these teams can compete against each other. So mine is I have Dallas, LAT, Florida, Minnesota, and London in that order. So I still have a lot of like promise that Dallas can maybe turn this around in the near future. I do have them slightly above LAT right now, just because I thought LAT would show us more by now, but it's kind of I'm in a wait and see mode to see if they can continue to grow. I have a lot of faith in their coaching staff, the duo that they have there, so I'm sure they'll be able to turn it around and start to rise up these rankings pretty fast. Florida and Minnesota, coin flip between those two, mostly because I love Mike on this roster, and I think their S&D is going to get extremely, extremely scary. So I do have them slightly below just until we see, and then to round that out, I just have London there because while they're in ninth, I do think they have a lot of potential to compete with these other teams in respawns. So I
think that's a good list for sure. I mean, I'd probably have Minnesota higher if I was ranking it off this change, which maybe I should have done, but because I was just doing current form. But I completely agree with the way that B tier was laid out. It's such an interesting array of teams because obviously we've got the top four we'll talk about in a second, but I don't know who to put fifth. Like, it feels like none of these teams really deserve the fifth spot to me. Like, Thieves, I don't think they've been looking good enough for me to call them, like, fifth best team. But I might have to give it to them just because Empire didn't even win a map this weekend.
So weird for that fifth spot.
Won a good series, right? Yeah, exactly. I don't know what to do. And then Florida are too inconsistent for me to put up there. Like, them being seventh, something like that is probably about right for them because they can beat like the fourth best team. They can lose to the 11th best team. That's just kind of how it goes. But so they should be banging where they are. Then London, I think, definitely deserve a spot around about that point. They've been looking solid and have had decent results. So to me, it's like, okay, Thieves, Empire, 5th and 6th. I mean, to me, I'd probably give Los Angeles Thieves. But as you say, they haven't really shown anything for me to, for them to be deserving of that spot. And, then let's go on to our top four, right? So I think the top four are pretty clear cut for most people. There is some question as to what number 2 should be. I think we kind of see things a relatively similar way. I guess talk about OpTic first, right? Because if OpTic had have made a longer run in this tourney, I wonder what would have happened here to these standings. Because if they'd have beaten Toronto, and then, like, let's say they lost to you guys, then I don't know what happens here. Maybe I still put them fourth, but it certainly gets pretty interesting, right? And they could well have beaten Toronto here. But yeah, I think Chicago now moved to me into, like, the A tier. Personally, I have Atlanta as S tier right now. I just think that I don't know if I want to put another team in that category together. I maybe should put Toronto in there with them, but maybe that probably is deserved right now. But you guys beat them twice in the game 5. It's tough to say, but maybe Toronto do also deserve S tier with FaZe. But yeah, FaZe number 1, obviously that's clear cut. Then Toronto, New York, and Chicago I kind of have in that A tier just because I think that the series between Toronto and OpTic was so close down to the wire that they probably deserve a similar ranking. And Chicago looked great, but clearly they haven't beaten some of these teams yet as of late. And then New York sitting there, and currently I have them at third in a similar region to the rest of the guys. But to me, it's just incredible that, okay, FaZe are number one, but it's close between them and Toronto. And then the other teams are also very tight. And then it's kind of like a line and then fifth down to the rest. At least that's how it seems to me. So I'll throw it to you, Austin.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I put us in Toronto in the S tier just because I feel like obviously I think our team's number one, but with Toronto, they're good at all three modes. And when you're going to be put into a best of 9 in grand finals, you have to be good at all three modes. You can't just disregard one of them. So I think Toronto's super scary in every single mode, and that's why I put them up there with us. And they've also already won a major this season, so I just feel like right now, in the form that they're in S tier with us. In A tier, I have New York and Chicago. That is no slight at New York at all. I think they're amazing. I really think they're A plus, so on the verge. I just think they just need to sharpen up S&D just a little bit more. Obviously you saw what they did to us and Express in Miami, so I feel like they're so close. So I have them A plus, and then Chicago A minus. We just need to see more Chicago. It's been such a roller coaster with so many highs and so many lows that it's
you still don't really know, right?
There needs to be some consistency. You can't just disregard everything that's happened in the past just because they had a good weekend. So as we said after Toronto won in Major 2, you have to show it in Major 4 now. You have to show that consistency. You have to show that growth. You have to show us that it's not just you caught heat during the weekend. So I definitely think Chicago has a ton of potential. They've been working really hard, so I think they'll continue to show us that potential that they have.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front. OpTic are the one that it's the other teams have seen enough from to comfortably say that they're top 3. OpTic are in that kind of weird fourth spot where it's they can certainly be a B tier team. They can certainly be an A plus S tier team on their day, right? And that's what makes things so exciting. And of course, going into this Friday, we'll have the group selection show. I imagine, so of course, FaZe, you're going to be in Group A, New York will be in Group B, and then I guess you guys will put Toronto in the other side. New York will probably put OpTic in your side. So FaZe versus OpTic is going to be happening again in all likelihood. And then, of course, things get very interesting for them. We'll kind of see how other teams consider the power rankings to be. But any final thoughts, Austin, before we finish off the show after another phenomenal weekend?